Hey, good afternoon, church. This is Tyler. Today is Friday, March 25th. Wow, we are really cruising through these. And I welcome you to this video on the last of this week's series of Lenten reflections. Again, we don't post videos on Saturdays or Sundays, so we will be back in your feed on Monday. Whew. Okay, let's get started. I have a group of bros that I've been hanging out with a lot these last couple of years. For those of you who don't know me, I'm in seminary, which is a 3-year program, and I've been doing this for 3 years, so I'll graduate in May. And as I approach this threshold of graduation, which is going to be this like phenomenal change in my life, I'm in this place of life that is marked by extreme excitement and anticipation, and then also I think sadness, to be honest. Um, a sadness that life is just going to change a lot. And I'll miss a lot about seminary. But I think the thing I'll miss the most by a substantial margin is the relationships. I have been so fortunate to enter this place with a cohort of people who are just the most kind and loving and amazing people. And I know that I'll carry those relationships with me through my life. But it will be different. And so, as I said, I've got this group of bros that I've been hanging out with for the last couple of years. And I have really come to cherish that time because I'm not a person who is super masculine. I know it may shock you with the beard and all, but I grew up with sisters. And then in middle school and high school, I did theater, which is, at least at that time, certainly a more female-dominated kind of thing. And then in college, I studied social work, which is also a career that is dominated by women. And so I've had close guy friends, but I've not ever really had like a group of guys, like a squad, a group of bros, if you will. And so I've had these friends for the last couple of years that I've been moving through this experience with. And we try to get together once a week to reconnect and play cards. And amidst all of the trash talking and whatever ends up happening, our conversation will inevitably grow and shift to a place that not only talks about theology and philosophy and questions of meaning and belonging, but deep and honest conversations about what's happening in our lives. And so anyway, I just love these relationships. And we got together this Tuesday for the first time in about a month. You know, we try to get together weekly, but as many of you know, as you get older and your life gets busier, it becomes harder and harder to maintain those weekly commitments. And so we got together on Tuesday, and I was a little bit blindsided to learn that 2 of those 4 guys are moving at the end of May. And they both have amazing opportunities outside of the state that they have to pursue. And as a friend, I'm so thrilled to get to support them in that journey and see them take those big steps. But I'm also a little sad. And I know that those friendships aren't going to die. But I do know that they'll change. And there's a lot of change coming up in my life. And I think that I had thought that maybe I had another season of Tuesday night cards ahead of me. And so I've been thinking a lot about these relationships with these guys the last few days. The Bible tells us in 1 John chapter 4, the author writes that no one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God's love lives in us, and God's love is made complete in us. And I've been thinking about that scripture a lot this week. I've been thinking about the ways that God's love has been made complete in those relationships and in me through the love that those guys have shown me, through the way that those guys have comforted me, the ways that they've brought joy into my life, the ways that they've challenged me to grow, and the ways that they've made me feel like I belong. And so I wanted to take a little bit of time today as we go into our weekend to do a bit of a reflection and meditation on friendship. And so if you don't have a piece of paper and something to write with, now would be a really great time to pause the video and grab some kind of writing instrument. And then a couple of pieces of paper. Honestly, you might want more than one. So if you have a journal somewhere, grab that. If not, just like a couple of loose pieces of paper. Go ahead and pause the video, gather those things, and then restart the video when you're ready. Great, cool. I'm going to assume that you paused the video and you gathered your materials. And so you're going to take your paper and just draw one nice little line right down the middle. Nothing too crazy, but just divide your paper into 2 columns. And in a moment, you'll pause the video again. And on your left-hand column, think about this season of life that you have been in, whether it's a couple of months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, however you want to define that. Thinking about this season of life that you find yourself in the left-hand column, list out the names of people whose relationships have been significant for you. Relationships that have helped you to feel and see God's love, relationships that you have been blessed by. And then on the right-hand column, next to those names, and it doesn't have to be super long or elaborate, maybe just a couple of words or a phrase, write out what it is about that person or that relationship that has blessed you. How do you see God in that person? How has that person taught you to better understand love or God? How has that relationship blessed you? So the left-hand column will be your names, and then the right-hand column will be the ways in which you see God's love in that person, the qualities of God you see in that person, the way that relationship has blessed you, whatever that may look like for each relationship. So go ahead and pause the video, take as much time as you want, and come back when you're ready. Welcome back. So by now you've probably got a pretty full list, perhaps. If you didn't already, it could be really helpful now to cast your mind back deeper into your memory, to look through sort of the fullness of your life, and maybe not with quite the same depth that you might have just applied to life right now, but thinking about the fullness of your life. Who are a couple more people that you can add to this list, people who have had this tremendous impact on you, who have shown God's love to you in big ways? Maybe they're people who are still with us, and maybe they're people who have passed from this world and gone on to join the communion of saints. But go ahead and pause the video and take just a short time. Again, maybe not quite as in-depth as you just did, but add a couple of those people and do the same thing with the columns where you have the names on the left and then the qualities on the right. Welcome back. So now at this point, you've probably got a pretty full list of columns. And so the final thing that you'll do once this video ends is, if you would like to, you can write out a prayer. But if you don't want to write anymore, another thing you can do is just move through your column and your list and verbally pray to God. Maybe giving thanks for these people and these relationships, celebrating the blessings that they've been in your life. Praying for them as your heart is open to the compassion and empathy of God. Maybe you're stirred by things that you know they're experiencing, and you can pray for that too and be a blessing for them. I'm not sure what that'll look like for you. It'll probably be a little bit different for each and every person. But I really encourage you to spend some time with this list today and to pray over these relationships and pray for these people. And I pray that for you, as you move through this experience, you'll go into your weekend remembering that you are loved. Because I think that's the greatest blessing of all. We'll see you next week.